Well, Michael, it's nice to see you looking so fit and well. How has your period of self-isolation been for you?
Yeah, it's been certainly a new experience, I would say, to be here for, this is my ninth day in self-isolation in my apartment. And it's been a little bit frustrating at times. There's no doubt about that. But I'm also thankful that as yet I haven't developed any symptoms, despite obviously having a positive test for the coronavirus. So, whilst it's been frustrating, as I say, I'm thankful that I haven't felt any symptoms and I haven't become ill. And hopefully that continues, and I look forward to getting back with around the team again soon.
Must have come as a real hammer blow to you when you got the call from the doc saying that you were the one out of the club that had tested positive.
Yeah, it does really. We had the game scheduled for the Tuesday at Manchester United at Carrington, and I was just on my way to Carrington when the doc called me. It's quite difficult for the medical team because the results come back at different times. There's no set time that we know the results will come back. We know they'll come back within a certain time period. But for example, had they come back later that day, I would have been in Carrington at that point in time. So it was probably fortunate because, it probably would have maybe caused a little bit more of a storm in the media. But as things stood, I stopped the car and turned the car around and came back to my apartment. And I've been here ever since.
What was your immediate reaction? Was it are you sure? Was it one of those?
Yeah, it was, to be honest. You can't think really and yeah, look, I know obviously anyone can test positive for this, and you start to think back. I had 5 negative tests, obviously leading up to it was my 6th test. So you start to look at, well, I tested negative on Thursday, so the transmission of the virus has obviously happened between Thursday and Monday. That's in my head how I'm working and trying to think, follow my footsteps back to where I may have came in contact with it. But that mystery's not really been solved, to be honest. And it's just a case of, as I say, there is an initial shock when you get that news, and you do obviously fear that you'll get symptoms. And I know how many obviously people and families have been affected by this. So as I say, I'm thankful that at this minute in time, I'm still symptom free.
Touch wood, you'll be back on the training ground on Friday. I would imagine, well, you've already alluded to the fact you're looking forward to that, and looking forward to being in the dugout at the Medeski on Saturday.
Yeah, I am. It's been the guys have done great. Billy and Andy, Rory, David Rouse, and all the support staff, the medical team looking after the players, and it's been a bonus that we've had no other positive tests within the playing squad, which there is always anxiety in the players when someone tests positive. But I think the club have done a great job, and to make sure that the players aren't feeling that anxiety when someone tests positive. And I'm looking forward to getting back. I've got up every day, and sort of the analysts have been able to log me in to watch the training. They've streamed it to me on my laptop, so I've been watching the training and obviously having an input in terms of the training that we do. I watched both games against Derby. The stream from Derby was a little bit jumpy, so it was a little bit frustrating trying to watch the 2 games. But I subsequently watched them back then, and once they've been downloaded for me as well. So, look, we're as prepared as we can be. I think going into the game on Saturday, there's no doubt that my absence has been a hiccup. But I think as I say, the team have been brilliant in making sure that the disruption's been as minimal as possible.
I suppose for every team when the season restarts on Saturday, it's almost a step into the unknown, isn't it? I think last time we spoke, I suggested that no side is going to have any form. It really is a step into the unknown.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like first game of the season, but it's actually like first game of the season with no pre-season. If the truth be told, normally you'd go in and say, "Oh, we were, we had." Like it's always. I always remember as a player as well that you could have a horrific pre-season and not win a game, and then you could come in and you play great on day one, or you could have a great pre-season and think you're really ready to play and ultimately play poorly in the opening games of the season. So this is very much unknown because, as you say, no one has any form. the games and that have taken place have been solely regarding around fitness. And whilst we come in, people said, we're in a nice run of form. That was 3 months ago, so it really counts for nothing, to be honest. Whilst our last game was a 5-1 home victory, we are ultimately just starting again in a 9-game season with a lot at stake.
For a lot of teams in that 9-game season, they'll have dead rubbers, but that's not going to apply to us, is it? Unless we make unless we go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak right at the start, and we can take it easy towards the end.
Well, the hope is that we will have a few dead rubbers towards the end. That's what I certainly hope will be the case. I think when you look at the Championship at this moment in time, there's maybe down to 11th or 12th. There'll be clubs you think we can still make the playoffs. Genuinely, that who'll come back and say, well, if we can win, 6, 7 of our last games, that's going to put us in contention to make the playoffs. And then you have possibly 8 teams, maybe 9 teams that could still be involved in the relegation if they hit bad form, and that leaves you with very little gap in the middle in terms of teams that have very little to play for. I think as the games go on, the number of teams that will have games of no consequence will increase. Obviously, I think that results will, but the object for us is purely to get points on the board. Our focus is on ourselves, but we want to make sure that even if we get those points early on, that we finish the season as strongly as possible. I think that's important because there's going to be a short break, and you're going to follow into next season. And I said it to the players at the outset that we're pretty much nearly going into like a 55-game season, really, and that's how they have to think about it. Obviously, the new season isn't scheduled to start to September, but we have a lot of work to do in the 9 games to make sure, first of all, that we preserve our status and we're in the Championship and we're in good a shape as possible going into the next season.
What do you expect from Reading? If memory serves me correctly, the game at our place was somewhat a war of attrition just before Christmas, a goalless draw. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, their home form's not been particularly great this season. And I looked at it, and I think they've possibly had 7 wins at home, maybe not even as many as that. So they've had they've picked up. They've been good on the road. I think there's no doubt about that. I think they have good flexibility in their team as well, a bit of pace up front. So they will cause us problems. We have to be ready for that. And they have a bit of flexibility in how they play. Midfield rotate. Jarius can be a threat in there as well. But again, it is, we're doing work on a team that hasn't played for 3 months, and we're looking at games that were 3 months ago, likewise as they will be looking at us. So I think there will be a little bit of either team feeling each other out in the early part of the game. But the game earlier on in the year, it was a disappointing game for us, I felt, because we came into, I think we had won the previous game, and at that point we're still trying to get momentum, trying to get like back-to-back wins and striving for that form. And when you draw 0-0 at home, it doesn't feel, you don't get a great feeling from a game like that. And it was a game with very, very few chances, if I remember rightly. We didn't really look like we were ever going to lose the game, but equally we didn't look like we were capable of winning the game. I think obviously since January, our form in terms of winning games and scoring goals has been a lot more consistent than it was at that point in the season.
And how's the squad looking in terms of injuries, fitness concerns?
Squad's been good. We've doubted about Jordan Cousins, who has an ankle injury. We can give him right up to the last minute. But otherwise, the numbers are high, which has been really good. The fact that we have, fit Ryan Shawcross back is a big bonus. A fit James McLean back is a big bonus. And I think what the break has done, it's probably given players the chance at a vital part in the season when they've maybe had quite a bit of games in their legs to recover and look fresh. And, we've been really pleased with the numbers that the players are clocking up in training in terms of the distances and the high-speed running and all things that are gauges in terms of the fitness. The training's been excellent, to be fair. I've really enjoyed working with them. It's been nice to have that period working with the players without the pressure of a game, and we've not had that since I came to the club. We've had games all the time, so we've always been working towards a game. You've always had little scenarios where players are possibly disappointed to be left out of the team, but for the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've not been picking a team. The focus of the players has been excellent. The mood's been excellent, and we just have to maintain that. I think the squad probably looks now as strong as it's done at any point, with the players that I mentioned being back, and we look forward to the games that lie ahead, and obviously we're well aware of what's needed.
Interesting point that you make there about players being fresh, because some teams notoriously do run out of steam, don't they, in the sort of final furlongs of the season? But it's not going to be the case this time around, is it?
No, I don't think so. And there's various. I think there's various things that come into consideration for clubs. For example, how many players are coming out of contract, given that it's a unique situation in terms of the contract situation for clubs. How many players, for example, the clubs have on loan, and are those loan players, in the same frame of mind that they were when they came to the club in January, or whenever the loan was initially taken up. So I think all of those are factors for managers to deal with, and it probably has suited, it didn't suit us in January to have so many players under contract, but it probably suits us a little bit more now to have our numbers a bit higher. And, we have to ensure with those players that, we get through the 9 games, and we have the ability to rotate the team when necessary.
And finally, what would be your message for the fans? They're not going to be able to be actually within stadiums for these remaining 9 games. They'll be with you in spirit and watching virtually. What would you say to them?
Just hopefully we can deliver, obviously, what we require to stay in the Championship, and then move forward from there. And obviously, when we're back and we're playing behind or in front of fans again, we want to be a team that's competing at the other end of the table, and that'll be something that I think the fans, I know, will enjoy a lot more, and they've given us great backing so far. I think the only way that they can communicate with the team is probably through social media. So if they can be as positive as they can be with social media, because I know that players do read that, and it can affect players. And so together, I think the fans have been fantastic to me since I come in, and I know it's very frustrating for them not to be able to go and watch the games, but we have to make sure that the level of performance is at least on a par to what it was before this situation arose, and if possible, obviously we want to even raise that level.